of KATS-HIMSELF fish landing site on the northern shores of Lake Victoria, Nkumba Parish, Busiro County, Wakiso District. We look for the three elements that we talked about. One, what was studied? We are doing a fieldwork on a landing site. Which landing site? KATS-HIMSELF fish landing site. Two, we are looking for where did the study take place. The study took place on the northern shores of Lake Victoria, Nkumba Parish, Wakiso District. The most important part is here, Wakiso District. You must understand that the topic of study must have a geographical relationship. At this juncture, we are looking at the relationship between growth and development. Growth, quantitative increase. Development, qualitative and quantitative, both. So we're looking at the relationship between growth and development of KATS-HIMSELF fish landing site on the northern shores of Lake Victoria, Busiro County, Wakiso District. These are the things that you can master. A topic of study must have what is studied or what was studied, where did the study take place, and basically it must portray a geographical relationship. That is area number one, topic of study. Area number two, we are going to have statement of objectives. Area number two, we are going to have statement of objectives. Statement of objectives. Objectives, we are trying to look at the reasons why we are carrying out this fieldwork. What is the rationale of carrying out this fieldwork? What is the reason for carrying out this fieldwork? We are emphasizing and saying that candidates, students, learners must begin with our usual word, to find out. To find out. In the statement of all these objectives, some learners who are listening out there, the senior 4s, the senior 6s, some of you try to Isaac and tell us to know, to understand. All those are illegal, not only illegal, immoral, and unethical in such an applicability. We need only one word, use for us one word, to find out. What are we beginning with? To find out the location. Remember our topic was saying KATS-HIMSELF fish landing site. We are saying to find out the location of KATS-HIMSELF fish landing site. Two, we are saying to find out the historical background. Find out the historical background of KATS-HIMSELF fish landing site. What was the historical background of KATS-HIMSELF fish landing site? Three, we want to find out the physical features. Around KATS-HIMSELF fish landing site or at KATS-HIMSELF fish landing site. An examiner or any other person would wish to know what are the physical features around KATS-HIMSELF fish landing site. The next idea is to find out the economic activities taking place at KATS-HIMSELF fish landing site. The next objective would be to find out the fish species caught and landed at KATS-HIMSELF fish landing site. We know there are very many or several fish species that are caught and landed at KATS-HIMSELF fish landing site, and we wish to understand which fish species are those. The next is to find out the fishing methods. Used to catch fish at KATS-HIMSELF fish landing site. Another aspect would be to find out the Problems faced by the fishermen. Problems faced by the fishermen. Problems faced by the fishermen at Casting Fish Landing site. Another aspect would be to find out the solutions. When we have the problems, obviously we would need to know what are the solutions to these problems. So to find out the solutions to the problems faced by the fishermen at Casting Fish Landing site. Then lastly, we would wish to have the future prospects. What are the future prospects of Casting Fish Landing site? Taking an example of Casting Fish Landing site, every examiner would wish, or every student would wish to know, carrying out fieldwork, what are the future prospects? How do we do it? To find out the future prospects. Bottom line, to find out. State your point beginning with to find out. 1. Location of Casting Fish Landing site. 2. Historical background of Casting Fish Landing site. 3. Physical features of Casting Fish Landing site. Economic activities carried out at Casting Fish Landing site. The fish species caught and landed at Casting Fish Landing site. The fishing methods used at Casting Fish Landing site. The problems faced at Casting Fish Landing site. Solutions to the problems faced by the fishermen at Casting Fish Landing site. And lastly, the future prospects. Members, candidates, dear candidates, use the word to find out. We are aiming at excelling. Idea number 3 is the preparation stage. Preparation stage. How did you prepare for your field work? Preparation stage. We have our formula. And this formula is PUTOM plus any other 2. We need to understand what is PUTOM. To make our life easy, to make the life of the student easy, we need to understand what is PUTOM. PUTOM stands for P, stands for pilot, pilot study. T stands for topic of study. O stands for objectives of the study. And M stands for methods of study or methods of data correction, plus any other 2. Dear viewers, we are saying PUTOM is our formula, plus any other 2 of these things or ideas that you must bring out. 1, a candidate must begin with pilot study. These must be in order. We expect a candidate to give these ones in their order. When I say order, I mean chronological order. They must appear in their chronological order. 1, beginning with the pilot study. 2, moving to the topic of study. 3, moving to the objectives of the study. Next, method, plus any other 2. To begin with, pilot study. A student must use right words while stating these ones. 1, we are saying we formulated. We formulated. We formulated. Words like we carried out. We formulated. We carried out. We made. Remember our tense. Past tense. This is a field work you have already carried out. You're just presenting ideas. You're just showing us ideas. Giving us ideas that you carried out. 1. We go through this. 1, we are saying we carried out a pilot study. That's the statement of the preparation stage. That's the first stage. Stage number 1, first stage. We carried out a pilot study. What do you state it? 1, my teacher and I went to Casting Fish Landing site and carried out a pilot study to see whether the area was 1, geographically rich, 2, to understand the geographical viability of the area. We are carrying out the pilot study to check whether the area is geographically rich, whether we are going to be rich in carrying out our field work. 2, to see whether the area is geographically viable. And 3, to seek permission from the relevant authorities. This means that the teacher, one of the students, went to the field work to seek permission, to check whether the area was geographically rich, check whether the area was geographically viable for our field work. 2, or second, Statement of topic of study. What was our topic of study? We stated the topic of study prior. We said the growth and development of KATS-HIMSELF Fish Landing Site on the northern shores of Lake Victoria, Busiro County, and we said Kumba Parish, Wakiso District. That was our topic of study. So state it there and there, put it in quotes, and the examiner will be happy with you. Third, objectives of the study. We listed the different objectives of the study. 1, to find out the geographical location of KATS-HIMSELF Fish Landing Site. 2, to find out the location of KATS-HIMSELF Fish Landing Site. 3, to find out the historical background of KATS-HIMSELf Fish Landing Site, among others. List at least for us any 2, because we want evidence that you carried out the fieldwork study. 3, we said methods. We selected methods. We selected methods. We are using such words. We selected, past tense. We selected the methods of study. Which methods were these? We are going to look at them. 1, we are going to use observation method, questionnaire method, recording method. So state for the examiner, we selected the methods which included observation, questionnaire method, interviewing method, recording method, while carrying out our fieldwork. Next, continue and add the any other 2. This any other 2, we have several of them, and I expect students at least to tell me they selected tools. We selected tools to use in our fieldwork study. Which tools? The pens, the pencils, the tape measures, and etc. Whichever tool you used to carry out your fieldwork, bring it to the examiner. Bring it to the knowledge of the examiner, and he'll be happy. Then next, you can tell us you were briefed and then departed for your fieldwork. Those are some of the points. However, PUTOM is our formula. Pilot study, topic of study, objectives of the study, methods of the study, plus any other 2. Mark you must present them in order. 4th stage. The 4th stage, we are going to look at the methods of data correction. Methods of data correction. Methods of data correction. Methods of data correction. Or I can call them techniques. Techniques or methods of data correction. Which methods did I use to collect data while at KATS-HIMSELF Fish Landing Site? How did I collect data at KATS-HIMSELf Fish Landing Site? A student must elaborate that and understand it very well. 1, we have a formula. Identify the method. Identify the method. Identify the method. We're going to see how. 2, define the method. Define the method. 3, show how we use the method. How we used the method. And then finally, represent the geographical finding. Geographical finding. Here, a candidate must show us the tool. I will put in brackets, tool used. Tool used. Identify the method. Define the method. How did he use the method? And finally, give us the geographical finding. When you're in this line, you're expecting to earn a lot of marks. I begin with identification of the method. 1, I used. You can say I, you can say we, depending, because the question is always saying for any fieldwork carried out as a group or as an individual. You can say I, you can say we. Begin either. We used observation method. You've identified, tick. Define the method. How defining the method? Observation is a method of data correction that involves the use of eyes to see and other senses to interpret a geographical phenomenon. When you define observation like that, you are aiming at getting marks. Observation. That is observation. Observation. I used observation. Define the method. Observation is the method of data correction that involves the use of eyes to see and other senses to interpret a geographical phenomena, a geographical aspect. How you use the method? I used my eyes to see the different physical features at KATS Fish Landing site. Geographical finding. What did you find out? I found out that these physical features included Bendegere Hill, Kasenyi Beach, Nakasunda Headland. All those are physical features according to your objectives. We are saying this is the way and this is the format we are using. I'm sampling some of these methods. One, I'm beginning with observation, and we see whether we are suiting in our formula. Observation. 2, recording. Recording is a method of data correction which involves the writing down, the jotting down, the noting down of aspects while using pen, paper, and pencil. As simple as that. Writing down, jotting down, noting down geographical aspects while using pen, paper, and pencil. As simple as that. Then you tell us how you use the method. How did you use the method? I used my pen, I used my paper to write down the different fish species caught and landed at KATS Fish Landing site. And this included tilapia, Nile perch. As simple as that. The moment you go back to our formula, you find your earning marks there. 3, interviewing. What is interviewing? The face-to-face interaction between a researcher and the respondent, where a researcher asks oral questions and receives immediate oral answers. When you answer like that, you've already passed the mark for the definition. Have a mark for the definition. 2, how did you use the method? I asked Mr. Chiwanuka Duncan, one of the fishermen at KATS Fish Landing site, inquiring about some of the fish species caught and landed at KATS Fish Landing site. And this included tilapia. You're giving us the finding. Already you're there. 4, measurement. Measurement method. How did you use measurement? Measurement. A method. I used the measurement. You've stated a method of data correction that involves the use of calibrated and non-calibrated instruments to determine the weight, the size, the distance of a specific geographical aspect. Tell us how you use the method. I used a tape measure to determine the distance occupied by Kasenyi Beach, and show us how you use this tape measure. And then tell us the finding. I found out that Kasenyi Beach occupies about 100 meters. As simple as that. And here you earn your marks from the examiner. Ladies and gentlemen, there are very many methods of data correction, including sketching. Sometimes we give it a subset of recording. We have questionnaire method. We have a map orientation method, and among others. So those are the methods of data correction. Remember what we are talking about, the 13 areas. The 13 areas. 13 areas. 13 areas of field work. 13 areas of field work. 13 areas of field work. Area number 4 is what we are going to call the sketching or sketches. Among our sketches, our dear viewers, our dear candidates who are there watching, we have what we call the 3 sketches. 1, we have what we call a line transect. A line transect. Another name given to a line transect is a cross section. A cross section. Another name given to a cross section is a transverse section. A transverse section. They will always try to trick you because these are all the names given to a cross section. Any sketch can be brought at any time. 2, we are going to have what we call a panorama. A panorama. Or what we call a panoramic view. Another name for a panoramic view, we call it a landscape sketch. A landscape sketch. 3, we have what we call a sketch map. A sketch map. That once you've gone to carry out your field work, one of the field sketches, one of the field diagrams you must present are a line transect, stroke a cross section, stroke a transverse section. We see too a panorama or a panoramic view, and then in long run stroke called a landscape sketch. Another name for a panorama is a landscape sketch. 3, we have what we call a sketch map. All these are different sketches. I want us to go through these sketches very fast, and we see what are the ingredients, what must be involved in each sketch, what must you not leave out in each sketch. This is a sketch map. This is a panorama. And then finally, a line transect. A line transect. A line transect. A line transect. Line transect. All these ones have different ingredients. They have what you must not leave out, what you must leave out, or what you must use. 1, with a sketch map, we must make sure we portray diagrams using symbols. When I say symbols, I want to see a symbol of a hill. I want to see a symbol of a hill. On your sketch, I don't want to see a diagram. I don't want to see a picture. I want to see a symbol of a hill. With a panorama, we use what we call pictures. This is something that you must know. If it is a mountain, I want to see it like this, as a mountain. If it is a road, it must appear as a road. If it is a tree, it must appear as a tree. And we like here, unlike here, where I want to see the canopy of that tree. Just. For here pictures, I want to see the exact picture. With a line transect, we also portray using pictures. And we have also other aspects that we're going to look at. 2, with a sketch map, it must have a frame. So I want to see a frame on your sketch map. It must have a compass. These are some of the marginal information issues that we must not leave out as students. Next, it must have it must be labeled. 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 So we must see labeling and marking. It must have a key. When I say labeling, I stroke. It must have a key and etc. Symbols, a frame, a compass. What symbols portrayed, and they must be marked alongside the key. Pictures. Then it must have a frame. Then it must have what we call a viewpoint. These are things that you must not leave out. A viewpoint. So I expect someone to draw something like this. Then somewhere here, this is his or her viewpoint. And it must be enclosed. Then you put for us, or you portray the hills very well. You portray the road. You portray the tree very well. And we must have the idea of perspective. Perspective. What do I mean by perspective? Futures which are nearer appear bigger than the futures which are far. That's what we mean by perspective. So I expect to have these on your panorama. When it comes to the line transect, futures, it must be shaded. When I say shaded, I want to see a line transect that is shaded, I'm assuming, and it must be shaded, be touching. Touch is not allowed. It must touch very well. The upper line. I'm assuming the futures also must touch this line. So we want to see this portrayed. It must be completely shaded. It must be completely shaded. That's when we say a student is trying to draw. However, when you don't shade, you get to earn 0. So thank you, our dear viewers. We're going to get back and we continue with some of the 13 areas of hammering our fieldwork, ensuring that we pass our fieldwork with 100%. Thank you for your viewers.
School